Oh, wait. Okay.
Seems like it, yeah.
For some reason, it didn't start the stream on YouTube. It did pick up the signal. Now we're live. Okay, so my
Okay.
apologies for that. No clue why it
Yeah,
happened
yeah,
because I had
yeah.
auto start enabled and it didn't auto start. So YouTube is messing up. But at least now we're live. So welcome everyone. Um,
Thank you.
how have you guys been since last time? Have you had any responses to the conversation, which is something that I'm curious about.
Ahmad, go ahead. I'm after you.
You're on mute, Ahmed.
I had some nice comments, mainly centered around the conversation being amicable. And of course, those kinds of conversations, you will have a high degree of polarization. So people who are already, on your side will praise you, and people who are not on your side will say, no, we don't believe in it, just believe God exists first or something. So the nice thing is that we explain the points of view, and maybe few guys will change their minds.
Okay. And you,
Yeah.
Sohel?
On my side, I heard several people telling me it was a very nice, respectable dialogue, and like it was like very friendly. And I told them, well, I treat my debater as a friend, so I don't mind. Like he has his own faith, but I don't know. Maybe he changes someday and become like me. But
I
the
don't.
goal is the goal is not to change Ahmed. Actually, the goal is to, because even Islam as a faith, it changes like any idea. It evolves.
This is where I agree, and this is why we have these conversations because I think we can all start with the idea that we're not going to convince our interlocutor during a conversation, but
Yeah.
there might be people who pick up things from this conversation, and this is why we have it. And the fact that we can have an amicable conversation and can, as Ahmed just said, that people see that, I think that is the most important part. Because even though we think different, it doesn't mean that we have to be enemies or that we have to be disrespectful to each other. So I'm really happy that worked well last time. So what we're going to do, Sohel, you're going to open it. So I'll hand over the floor to you guys. You can start off.
Okay. I will start by, okay, I want to share some text. It's not I didn't make any like slides, or I just put some text there so people can see. I don't know if it's sharing. Okay, let me try to share it again. I'm new to this, so share audio. I should share audio also, yeah. Okay, are you able to see it? Yeah, okay. So I chose two verses from the Quran, and also I will show you a hadith, um, like a saying attributed to Prophet Muhammad. Okay, it's the first verse. It says, وَمَا كَانَ لِنَفْسٍ أَن تُؤْمِنْ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, which says it is not for any soul to believe except by Allah's leave, and He will bring His wrath upon those who are unmindful. Also, another translator says, and it is not for a soul, i.e., anyone, to believe except by permission of Allah, and He will place defilement upon those who will not use reason. Okay. The next one is وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. But you cannot will to do so except by the will of Allah, the Lord of all worlds. So this is a second verse, obviously gives humans no option whatsoever. Also, there is a long hadith by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and it is in Al-Bukhari and Muslim, but I will go to the English version of it. It says, on the authority of Abu Abdurrahman Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who said, the Messenger of Allah, and he is the truthful, the believed, narrated to us, indeed, the creation of one of you is brought together in his mother's belly for 40 days in the form of a zygote, then he is a clinging clot for a like period, then a morsel of flesh for a like period, then there is sent to him the angel who blows the human soul into him, and is commanded about 4 matters: to write down his provision, his lifespan, his actions, and whether he will be unhappy or happy. And by Allah, other than whom there is no deity, indeed, one of you does the deeds of the people of paradise until there is not between him and it except an arm's length, but the decree overtakes him, so he does the deeds of the people of fire and enters it. So as you see, yeah, like somebody will do all his life good deeds, but at the last moment he will do the deed of the people of hell. And also he continues, and indeed one of you does the deeds of the people of fire until there is not between him and it except an arm's length, but the decree overtakes him. Yeah, the same notion that at the last moment he will go to heaven, even though he was doing evil or bad things all his life. And the hadith is in these books, yeah, Sahih Muslim, and this number of the hadith, and Al-Bukhari, and also Al-Albani, which is a modern hadith scholar. Anyway, yeah, that was the text I wanted to use to show the audience that Islam does not believe in freedom, that we as humans are destined either to be happy or unhappy, either even going to hell or heaven. Is a matter decided by God, not by us as individuals. And in real life, such belief is kind of problematic because it contradicts with logic and reality. For example, I want to use this example from reality. Imagine 2 boats, one coming in the same river. One is full of women who are been Muslim all their lives. They never been in any other religion. They followed the religion strictly. And there is another boat that is full of Western ladies or women, the same, and both of them sunk in the river. You will see the Western women swim to the shore and survive the ordeal, whereas the women ladies, they were mostly be drowned because they cannot swim in their culture. So we see reality works because you will get what you do. I mean, if you train yourself on swimming, for example, it is more probable that you will survive the ordeal. Whereas somebody who has no training whatsoever, they will sunk and be drowned. So reality and logic works. There is no divine intervention in these issues or in life. Let's say, for example, an accident takes place. A car accident in a Western country will be dealt with scientifically. So they will go and study the road, they will study the car, how they made it. Was the driver drunk? Was he a bad driver, a reckless person? But in the Middle East, for example, in Islamic countries, and I used to hear that, any accident they would say, oh, it's God's will. They just died because God shortened their life, and yeah, they're gone. So that's a big problem, and that's why I see Islamic countries, they suffer really because of this culture. They don't have any thinking of human freedom or reality or gravity, science. Yeah, almost nothing of that. That's why I will make it short. And finally, yeah, that's why I see Islamic countries, they all suffer from backwardness. Like even country as secular as Tunisia is still backward because the major belief system is Islamic. Yeah, that's my general point. Thank you.
Okay. Tossing it over to
All right.
Ahmed.
Okay, so you've given me plenty to respond to, which I intend to. So that took like 15 minutes, I guess, or 12 minutes maybe?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Yeah. All right, so let's, I'll split my response into two pieces. The first piece, what is actually what I would claim to be the position of Islam on the matter of predestination versus free will. And the second thing would be responding to your specific comments on that. So the position of Islam on the matter of free will, in my opinion, is a very clear one. Through the history of Islam, there has been, because this is actually an ancient philosophical question, even in philosophy and even in atheism. So you will find people today who are atheists or materialists discussing the question of determinism versus free will. So I think this is not a question of only people who are religious or people who are not. It is a philosophical question, and in my opinion, people who are atheistic in their worldview or materialistic or naturalistic, the majority of them that I have encountered in my own experience, at least, do not believe in free will, which was really surprising to me. They would say that the universe is is governed by laws of physics, and laws of physics are more or less deterministic, and hence there is humans are essentially machines, and we are doing what we are doing because we could not have done anything else. And the last prolonged thing I have watched on that was a debate actually between Dan Dennett and Keith Ward. Obviously, Dan Dennett for the atheistic deterministic point of view, who is arguing it is just a brain, which is a machine, and Keith Ward, who is a Christian and a philosopher and a priest. That I had even an interview with him on my channel. is saying, no, there is a supernatural part of the human, which is the soul, which gives us this extra element of free will. It's not just the material world in play there. So in principle, I think that if somebody really adopts and endorses the materialistic or naturalistic worldview to its end, then in my experience, the vast majority would take a deterministic worldview that negates free will. Things are happening this way because there couldn't have been any other solution, because human beings are just like any other machine, except they are biological machines. So in my opinion, people who are more poised to believe in free will are the religious people, now regardless of the religion. And then, since they are religious people, they will go back to their own scripture to see if their scripture that they believe in will support this worldview or not, that they are actually correct in this idea. So let me first go through some ayat from the Quran that relate to what is the position of the Quran on this matter. And I would like, before going into that, to note that the Quran is a whole. It's one whole. So you cannot take a small piece of it and take a resolution, because this is against how people approach interpreting questions, especially important questions that are referenced in many places in the Quran in different contexts. You need to take the whole thing, otherwise you will reach an incorrect resolution. So first, for example, in Surah Al-Kahf, or the cave, ayah 29, it says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. And what that, the translation of meaning, whatever I say is a translation of meaning, because cannot translate the Quran literally. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ means, so who wishes to believe and who wishes to disbelieve. So who wishes to believe would believe, and who wishes to not believe would not believe. The other one is Surah Al-Insan, or man, and it says, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. It's talking about the human being, and it says, we have surely guided him to the way, either thankful or a denier or disbeliever, kafir, kafur, extremely disbelieving. Okay, and the third one would be Surah Al-Baqarah, the cow, ayah number 148, and it says, وَلِكُلٍّ وِجْهَةٌ هُوَ مُوَلِّيهَا فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. It's talking about people of different religions, for example, Muslims and non-Muslims, but of other religions that come from Allah, like Christians or Jews. It says, وَلِكُلٍّ وِجْهَةٌ هُوَ مُوَلِّيهَا فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. And to each there is a direction that he would take. So race for good deeds. So obviously you take your direction, and then you need to do your best in it. And then an interesting one, which is in Surah Al-An'am, or cattle, ayah 149, it says, سَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. It's very interesting to this conversation. سَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا أَشْرَكْنَا وَلَا آبَاؤُنَا وَلَا حَرَّمْنَا مِنْ شَيْءٍ كَذَلِكَ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ حَتَّى ذَاقُوا بَأْسَنَا قُلْ هَلْ عِنْدَكُمْ مِنْ عِلْمٍ فَتَخْرِجُوهُ لَنَا إِنْ تَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا تَخْرُصُونَ. And it's a long one, so I'm going to chop it off. So it says, سَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا, the ones who take partners with God, and this of course includes people who completely disbelieve. لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا أَشْرَكْنَا وَلَا آبَاؤُنَا. If God has willed it, we wouldn't have become blasphemous, or wouldn't have taken partners with him, and neither would have our fathers or our ancestors. وَلَا حَرَّمْنَا مِنْ شَيْءٍ. And we wouldn't have forbidden anything. كذلك, the comment, God's comment on that would be كذلك كذب الذين من قبلهم, and like so, the ones who came before them كذب, considered religion not true. حتى ذاقوا بأسنا, until our punishment, until they tasted our punishment. And then he says قل هل عندكم من علم فتخرجوه لنا إن تتبعون إلا الظن. Do you have knowledge so you would show us? You are but following your own doubts. وإن أنتم إلا تخرصون, and you are not but saying wrong things. So this is a very clear statement that this argument will be made by people who have chosen to disbelieve, to throw the burden of their disbelief on God, saying that, okay, we have no free will, we are not believing because he willed that we would not disbelieve. We couldn't have done anything else. And God is obviously commenting very strongly on that, saying that this is blasphemous, or this is takdeeb with the religion. This is saying about the religion something that the religion does not say. And so on and so forth. Actually, there are so many ayat in the Quran that are unequivocally indicating free will for the human being, apart from the very logical thing that God is saying that I'm holding you accountable for what you have chosen. So it couldn't be anywhere else. And then there are some ayat that might have different implications, and one has to look at those ayat or those ahadith under the umbrella of this general direction that is coming from those very, very clear assertions of ayat like the ones that I've mentioned. So just to be consistent with what you have put forward in your opening, so you mentioned, for example, ayah number 145 from Surah Ali Imran and ayah number 29 of Surah Al-Insan. I'm starting, let's start, for example, with ayah number 29. And actually it's ayah number, you said it's 29, I think it's actually number 30. So the ayah says, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا, and you would not will unless God wills it. But it is very interesting when you look at the Quran. It is as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects how people will use those ayat out of their context. So if you just go one ayah before that ayah, you will see that you cannot understand this ayah in terms of negating free will, because the ayah just before it, which sets its context, says this, says إِنَّ هَذِهِ تَذْكِرَةٌ, surely this is remembrance. فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَى رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا, so he will, who he wills it should take away to his Rabb, to his Lord. So the ayah just before it is setting that it is per your will to choose to take the way of Allah, to choose to take the way of God. And then it comments, so you do not get the illusion that you are the primary controller of the world, which goes back to the world view, because everything in the world ticks if Allah allows it to tick. So there is this umbrella that it is God's will that moves anything or makes anything tick or change. It is part of his will to give us free will, but our free will is under his free will. So if somebody wants to find a way to Allah, Allah will still continue testing him. And if he succeeds, he needs to say, Alhamdulillah, thank God that I have succeeded, because he has helped me. So it is a core part of our belief that if we want to do something, we say, Inshallah, if God wills it. So we always seek help from Allah. And if we fail, we say, okay, Alhamdulillah, and we try again. You have also mentioned another ayah, which is ayah number 145 of Surah Ali Imran, which is وَمَا كَانَ. If I misquote you, please tell me. وَمَا كَانَ لِنَفْسٍ, right? وَمَا كَانَ لِنَفْسٍ
Yes.
أَن تُؤْمِنَ. Okay, so this ayah is again, it says this: وَمَا كَانَ لِنَفْسٍ أَن تُؤْمِنَ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ كِتَابًا مُؤَجَّلًا. And no soul or no nafs, is like self, would sorry وما كان لنفس أن تموت إلا بإذن الله وما كان لنفس أن تموت, and no soul would die unless with the permission of Allah. It is a set book. But if you continue the ayah, this is again very nice, because you said this ayat, I don't know if you are going to say them or not. If you just continue the same ayah, it says this, it continues saying this: وَمَن يُرِدْ ثَوَابَ الدُّنْيَا نُؤْتِيهِ مِنْهَا. And who he wants the benefit of the dunya, of this earthly world, or the return of this earthly world, we will give him from it. وَمَن يُرِدْ ثَوَابَ الْآخِرَةِ نُؤْتِيهِ مِنْهَا. And who he wants the reward of the hereafter, we will give him from it. وَسَنَجْزِي الشَّاكِرِينَ. And we will reward those who thank us. And we will reward the thankful. So in the same ayah where he is saying, you will die at the time that I have set for your death, he is saying, but I have given you the choice within the life that I have given you to choose whether you want to choose this life or the hereafter, and it's according to your choice that I will give you. You then went to a hadith from Muslim, and you specifically referred to the part about the angel writing fates, and part of what he writes is وَشَقِيٌّ أَمْ سَعِيدٌ, whether happy or not happy. And then the finale of the hadith about somebody who has been doing deeds that look like the deeds of people who will go to paradise, and then the book or the decree will apply, and he will change what he is doing, etc. And of course, again, some people might use this as in the same way like the Quran, the ayat. If you take a piece of an ayah, etc. But the Quran even explains this very well. So if you go to the response, and it is an important principle in Islamic exegesis, that if you have something that you are not sure what its meaning is, that you refer to the Quran or you refer to the collective of the evidence. So if you go to Surah Al-Ankabut, for example, you will find, I think it was ayah number 10. Let me just check. Yeah, it says this: أم حسب الذين يعملون السيئات أن يسبقونا ساء ما يحكمون. He uses the same word, فسبق عليه الكتاب, in the hadith that you mentioned, and أن يسبقونا here. And it's if you look at the start of it's ayah number 4, and if you look at the start of the surah, it says أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Do people think that they will be left just to say, like in the words, we have believed and they are not tested? وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَلَا يَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَا يَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. And we have tested those who have came before them, so that Allah will know those who have been truthful and those who have been lying. And then he says this: أَمْ حَسِبَ الَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ أَن يَسْبِقُونَ سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ. Or do those who do bad deeds think that they will be faster than us? This is an unwise thing of them. And it means that there are some people who say, okay, just before I die, I will change what I will do, because it only matters what I did at the end. He says, no, you will not do, you will not be smarter than me. And some people pretend in front of people. They do charity, they do corporate social responsibility actions, their companies are good corporate citizens, they give the poor, but inside their hearts they are not good. And this is what the hadith means. You do the actions of people who are going to paradise, but there is something not right in your heart, and then before you die, just like the ayah in Surah Al-Insan was talking about, and the other ayah in Surah Al Imran,
Ahmed, can you
God
wrap
will
it up?
uncover yeah, God will just uncover what is in your heart, because this life is a test, and the bottom line is nobody will trick God. If you choose a way, He will help you, and if you choose the other way, He will also help you, because this life is about you choosing and then answering to your consequences. So that's all. I give you the second round now. It was a bit difficult because I had to say my part and then also respond to yours. So it was like double jeopardy here.
Okay, that's good.
Wait, we'll throw it into the open discussion. I did have a question from the side chat.
Okay.
Will you take questions from the chat during the conversation? Do you want me to bring them up, or do you want to wait until the end?
Well, I think during those junctions, it might be good to break the ice or something. I don't know. Maybe Sohel would think differently. If you agree,
I just want to respond to his response. So, like in short,
yeah,
maybe 5 minutes or 3, if that's okay.
Yeah, but
I'm
so
fine.
if people from the chat have questions, do you want me to bring those up during the conversation?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll throw it over to you, Sohel.
Thank you. So what's the next, Peter? You're the moderate and Mubarak.
Yeah, we can go to the open conversation if you like.
Yeah.
If you want to start it, Sohel, you could go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add that Ahmed just proved me right. I mean, the facts he told us about the person who was doing good all his life, but then at the last moment he did something wrong, and then voila, the angel came and took his life away. I mean, reality does not work like that. It's not about you doing something good and bad. Life is full of accidents, like any matter. Like, this is a materialistic world. Let me give you another example. In a car, there is a car, somebody's driving, and in this crash, somebody is burning to death. Okay. Some people, religious people say, okay, this is either a punishment from God, or is it a testing? Like, okay, he died like a terrible death. He died in fires and slowly. Okay, is that a punishment? It's either a punishment or a purification because of his bad deeds. Okay, how about if this person is a baby? Okay, he has not done anything yet. He's just a new person in this world, yet he dies in an accident, a terrible death. So the whole belief about God testing us and giving us a freedom in this life, it just doesn't make sense. We are free in some issues. There is no full freedom, and there is no full determinism. I don't believe in either of them, because let's say, for example, if I am having a meal and I have 3 choices in my meal. I have a chicken, and I have sweets, and I have salad. So whatever I choose will affect my life somehow, either positive or negative. It's up to me. I have the same amount, three similar amounts of food, but it's up to me to choose which one I'm going to eat. For example, even though I love sweets, let's say, but I chose to eat salad instead of the food I love. So that has an effect. It's nothing to do with God or a divine being. Yeah, it's just reality as it works.
Would you like me to respond to that?
Go ahead, yeah. If Peter is okay with it, and Mubarak.
Yeah, sure. You
Well,
you can go into open conversation. So
yeah, it's a open conversation. It just
Okay,
keep it
that's good.
amongst you. Yep.
Good,
All
Ahmed.
right. So actually, I responded to the parts about whether we have free will or not, or God makes us do things according to Islam. So the ayat that I have shown and the looking at the ayat in their full context and on the other clear ayat, I think this question is very clear in the Quran and the Sunnah even. But now there is this other part that you have talked about, which is, do we have complete freedom versus complete determinism? Now, complete freedom is different than free will. We have free will within the choices that we are presented with. So somebody is born American, somebody is born Chinese, somebody is born, I don't know, Egyptian, somebody is born Lebanese. This is not something up to our knowledge that we choose. We are presented with that kind of test. We come to the world with this nationality, with those parents, with this kind of body, with those illnesses, whatever. You are born in a country that then suffers a disaster. There are so many things that are outside of our control. So let's say there are many things that are outside our control. But then there is our response. We are here to be tested. What will be our response to those tests? So this person who is doing good deeds, but he has a bad heart, before he dies, God promises to put him under a test that will force him to make a real choice. And if somebody has an accident, it is a test. If somebody does not have an accident, it is also a test. If somebody is poor, it is a test. How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to be patient? Are you going to be not patient? If somebody is rich, he is tested how he is going to respond to that. Are you going to be giving to the poor and charitable and thankful or not? So everything in life is a test in terms of testing your response given the choices that you have. And there is this concept, or there is backdrop, that you are always accountable for taking the right choice out of the choices that you have. So if you have no choice whatsoever, you cannot be accountable. If somebody forces you to do something, God does not punish you for it. If you did not receive a message, if you have never received a message from Allah, He does not hold you accountable for not being a believer. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. This is what He said. And we will not punish, or we will not torture unless we have sent a messenger. This is very clear. So if you did not have the option to believe or disbelieve, He does not take you accountable for not being a believer.
Okay, but Ahmed, I mean, according to the tradition, I mean,
Yeah.
since God knows everything in ahead of time, like before He even create anything, He knows the future. Okay, for example, there is a contradiction here, because if we believe that God knows everything and He controls everything, and He already, for example, gave me this amount of life, breath, health, I can continue how these many years in my life, but nothing more. Okay, so why you pray, for example? Okay, because you have to. You told me to take Islam as a whole. Okay, not just take one part. You need to take a whole. For example, if I take Quran, I should take it as a whole. Okay, but remember, Quran itself says, okay, try if you can bring one surah like this, like Quran challenge the infidels to bring even one surah. Okay, if If one surah is not able to answer my question, why should I trust the whole Quran? I mean, sometimes one verse in the Quran is enough for me to be a problem, because it is a problem. Because if God already knows everything, He already decided everything, He already knows if I will go to hell or heaven, why I'm doing prayers and why I go mosque. I mean, these infidels, they were right when they told Muhammad why we should believe if your God already decided who will go to hell. And you know, for example, in the Islamic tradition about this guy who was fighting faithfully with Muhammad, but Muhammad yet told his companions, this guy will go to hell. And at the last moment, he committed suicide before he dies. And then the companions realized that, okay, that's why Muhammad said he will go to hell, because he couldn't take the pain and he killed himself. So how can you pray if God knows everything? He already, you either don't trust God, for example, if you don't trust His plan, and that's why you are praying, or God can change. That's why you praying. So what's your answer to that, my friend?
Okay, so you said a few things that are quite interesting. They're different things, so I have to address them differently. They are big questions. The first one is related to omniscience versus predestination. So I will give you a parable, but you might consider it's a very good parable, or it is just a good parable. Of course, the third option is not is that you don't like it, but I hope that you take one of those.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
So let's say this: you stand in front of the mirror and you find you're handsome. Okay. Is this because the mirror is good or because you're handsome? It is essentially because you're handsome, and it is an attribute of the mirror that it reflects reality. Okay. Now let's say you have a mirror that sees you 20 years from now in the future. Let's just assume this mirror exists, which will be just great. Okay. And in the mirror, you see that you are handsome and extremely rich. All right. You are the richest, the most wealthy person on earth. Obviously, you will not consider that this is the case because this is a very good mirror. The mirror is good to you. The mirror is just reflecting you in 20 years, regardless how magically does it know that. Does it reflect that? So if you would like to look at God's omniscience, I have another parable, but maybe this one would be enough. It is like God's knowledge is like a mirror. It just sees to all directions because He is not limited by time. So there is really no causal relation between God's omniscience and predestination. It is part of His qadar. It is part of what He ordained is to give you free will, and it is an attribute of His that regardless if it is directly His action or if it is the action that He has delegated you to take, which is at least at the very minimum your choice. At least your choice. Even regardless if this choice translates into action or not. Okay? So you hate somebody and this is a sin, or you envy somebody and this is a sin. You don't need to do anything. It is just a sin because you're envying. Because envying is a sin. So He's given you this ability to choose what to think and what to feel and what to do. But His omniscience continues working regardless if He is acting or not. And this is the reason It depends on which ayah you're reading. What is the context of this ayah? When he says, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهِ, he's saying this. Because you cannot actuate something in the real world unless Allah has given you the power to do so. You cannot even have the power on your own to have free will unless God gives you free will. And we can see this in the line of thought of people who are naturalists and materialists that are to the extreme that you do not like. You do not like full determinism. You have just said it. But you listen to somebody like Dan Dennett, and he will tell you, no, we are machines. We have the illusion of free will. We don't have real free will.
Yes.
And God is as if he is saying, yes, if I did not ordain it, you will be like the sun and the moon and the rocks and the trees and I don't know, the water that is flowing from higher levels to lower levels. You have free will because I have given you free will. So anything that you will is because I have given you free will. But it's part of this free will that you take your own choice. So this is number one, which is the omniscience part. And also the second one about
Ahmed, can I jump in real quick? This might be a good time for a question from the chat. Iron Charioteer asked Ahmed, so is Islam like a matrix controlled by Allah?
Nice question.
Yeah. Okay. So nice one. So I have a little video on my channel. It's called Truth 4, if somebody is interested. And I'm giving this exact parable actually. And when I was talking now to Sohel, I was saying I can give another parable, and it would have been this one. So let's assume this. Let's assume that we are those little AI creatures in a big simulation that somebody sitting in his living room is running. Okay? But we are very advanced AI that we have free will. I don't think this is possible, given that I'm a computer engineer, but let's say that it's possible, that we can really reach AI that has free will. I don't know how, but let's say. And I am just the guy in the living room. I'm not God. I'm just the guy in the living room who's running this simulation. But I can fast forward the simulation. So I can know what the AI guys will do in the future. And this is something that is running on a machine. So if I rewind it back, probably they will take the same choices. But now, since I have run it forward and I know what has happened, this is not forcing them to do it. I just cheated. I'm just cheating the system. Now, God does not need to run it forward. He knows this because this is an attribute of his. He knows everything. Now, does this mean that the world is like a matrix? Well, you can say that the matrix is like the world, actually. Everything in the world is happening because God permitted it to happen. So people, for example, who would look at quantum mechanics and say that there is no specific reason that a specific wave function collapses in a specific way, or a specific event happens left or right, or a specific radioactive material decays at that specific point, that specific nucleus, or that specific particle. A person who believes, like me, would say every single atom, every single electron, if there are two choices and one specific choice has been taken, it is because God ordained that this specific choice is taken. And the butterfly effect of that means that God is in control of the fundamentals of the universe, each single instant at each single Planck length or Planck volume in this universe. But this includes that he has given these specific creatures living in this world, which are the human beings, the opportunity to make up their minds in what are their choices, given the tests that they are presented with. He's controlling at the very quantum level if this specific gene will be expressed, because this specific chemical reaction will happen at that specific microsecond, causing somebody to catch a disease or a cancer. And then he is waiting for your response. Either you say Alhamdulillah and you are patient, or you say I hate God because why me? And you have lost the test.
But Ahmed, according to Islam itself, your reaction itself, it's been decided, because if God already gave you cancer instead of not you, okay, that person, if God gives a specific person, let's say Mr. J, or let's assume a name, like anyone, a person. That person has the right to ask, why me? Okay. For example, me myself, when I was a kid, I discovered I had a disease, something I got inherently through my genes. It's called muscular dystrophy, weak muscles. And that always was a question for me, like, why me? Why not another person? And you know what some Muslims told me? They told me, well, God made you a disabled person because you might have become a criminal, okay? An assumption, you would become a killer, a rapist, or whatever. You know, they said something like that. And I said, well, why he didn't do that with Saddam Hussein or Adolf Hitler? Or like, there are many tyrants in the world. God could have given them, like made them like disabled people, and we will be done a better world. So the question why me is genuine. I mean, and even if you read the Quran talks about unbelievers as if they have the same amount of freedom that God, the creator himself has, which is, I think, ironic. It's not a joke, but it's ironic how a small creature could have the same amount like God, the creator. What do you think about this point?
Well, we don't have the same amount of freedom like God, because he chooses the test, right? So obviously,
Yeah, okay.
obviously he chooses to create us, and he chooses the test. But let's look at it from the very beginning and from the very ending, okay? To wrap up, if you can wrap up the beginning and the ending, then what happens in between is a done deal. Let's say that, okay? So in the beginning, the Quran is quite outspoken that it was. I'm sorry. Are you hearing me, or I was muted?
I hear you. I hear you.
So the Quran is quite outspoken that it was actually our choice to accept free will. So there's this ayah. I can check out the ayah number now, but let me say the ayah. It says, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالُوا بَلَى شَهِدْنَا. And then he comments أن تقولوا يوم القيامة إنا كنا عن هذا غافلين أو تقولوا إنما أشرك آباؤنا من قبل وكنا ذرية من قبلهم أفتهلكنا بما فعل المبطلون. And the audience do not know what I'm talking about. So
of course.
I'm gonna just pick up the number of the ayah.
Some of them may, but I'm surely not.
Yeah, and then I translate it. Yeah.
My Arabic doesn't go any further than alhamdulillah. So
all right,
that's it.
All right. So it says this way: أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذريتهم. And remember when your Lord has taken from humans, from their backs, their offsprings, وأشهدهم على أنفسهم, and made them witnesses or made them testify for themselves. And he said, ألست بربكم. He told them, ألست بربكم, which is, am I not your Lord? قالوا بلى. And they said, yes, you are our Lord. Bala is affirmative, okay? An affirmative to a negated question. So they said, yes, you are our Lord. And then he comments this. He says two comments after they have testified. He says, أن تقولوا يوم القيامة إنا كنا عن هذا غافلين. He says, I have done this dialogue so that you would not say on Judgment Day, we have been unaware of this. أو تقولوا إنما أشرك آباؤنا من قبل وكنا ذرية من بعدهم أفتهلكنا بما فعل المبطلون. Or you might say, our ancestors were blasphemous before us, and we were just their offspring, are you going to destroy us or punish us for those who have gone wrong? So the whole scene is saying this. And there are other ayat in the Quran about the same thing. I didn't have the time to look up the number of the ayah. If somebody would like to, yeah, it is Surah Al-A'raf, ayah number 172 and 173. And the ayah after that is a very short comment and says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُفَصِّلُ الْآيَاتِ وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And like so, we detail the signs so that they might return. It's a very touching final comment. And then he narrates right after that he narrates a story about somebody from the Israelites who was a very good person, and at the last moment he changed his mind. He had something very bad, so he put him in hell. The thing is, at the beginning, we had a free choice to take free will. There are other ayat, but this one is very compelling, so I chose to mention this one. And at the end, there are so many ayahs that talk about Judgment Day. And the resolution is everyone at Judgment Day will accept that God was fair to him.
Okay, but Ahmad, let me tell you something here. Okay, first, I don't remember that I have met God before I was born. I mean, if you ask all humanity, I don't. Maybe Hindus, they believe in the recreation and the coming back, reincarnation. Like one dies and then come back to life. I mean, that's similar to Hinduism. Okay, we did conversate with God before we came to this world, and after we go to hell, God will create us again. And that's why, like, I see many Hindus, they even believe in Quran. They say that the Quran is another manifestation of Krishna, for example. So answering a logical question with a mythical answer, I don't think that will work, because I can bring you a bunch of mythology, like Greek mythology, Hindu mythology, and each collection has tons of answers. So let us make it simple. For example, somebody who did good all his life. Okay, why God waits until the last moment when he will do something bad? Why just God didn't take him before that and put him in heaven at least? Because if you weigh his life, like the majority of his actions were good. So why I should care about the last moment? For example, I even had this debate with a Christian friend. I told him, okay, like Adolf Hitler was a criminal. He killed millions, but at the last moment before he dies, he believed in Jesus, and then he died. Then, according to Christianity, he will go to heaven, and according if he died before that moment, he would go to hell. Okay, the same applies to your answer. If God weighs, like there is a verse in Quran, لا يضيع مثقال ذرة, like God will not waste even an amount of an atom in justice. So okay, this guy did all his life good things. I don't care if he was doing it for his own enjoyment, or what I was seeing is that all his life was good. So why he goes to hell? I mean, it does not look just to me.
Okay, so those are good points. So let me answer the first one, and then the second, and then the third. So the first one, yes, this is what the Quran is saying, and you don't remember. Let me stage this scene to you. So I bring you, I tell you, Sohel, you're a good person. I'm gonna give $10 million to somebody who will be put in a test where you will just need in this test to be rich for 1 month, and you will need to show that you are charitable. And if after the end of that month you show you are charitable, then the $10 million that I have given to you will be yours. Okay? So you say, okay, I'm a good person, I'm charitable, give me the $10 million, and I will do it. I will tell you about, or you already know that you just give 1 million out, and if you just give 1 million out, you'll take 9, and the remaining 9, and it's not your money. So the one condition is, I will now have to erase your memory. And I will now erase your memory for 1 month. And then right after that, you will wake up finding $10 million in your bedroom, and you will have all the free choices. You might next day, go drink and have women and become evil, or your free nature, your good nature will make you a charitable person. I'll just keep testing you for the 1 month, and then I will return your memory. And when I return your memory, you will remember this conversation, and you will see if you were good or bad. And if you were bad, you'll really be poor for the rest of your life, because I will even take the money that you have now. And if you were good, you will take the remainder of the $10 million. Now, it is as if God is telling you this conversation has happened, and you accepted to come here with a memory erasure. You took the risk. And what will happen now is that when you will wake up again on Judgment Day after we have died, so many ayat says that people, when they wake up on Judgment Day, they are, hey, what's happened? How much have we spent on earth? You know those ayat, okay? And some would say it's just been a night. It's just been a part of a day. It's just a day or a part of a day. Yeah. So they are referring to something that there was something before a dunya. Otherwise, they wouldn't have counted how much we have been away. So this there is a hadith for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He says, "An-nasu niyam fa-idha matu intabahu." People are asleep. When they die, they wake up. Yeah. So it is like this parable that I've given you. Now, if you accept this and you take the shock that will erase the memory of the conversation, and you wake up and you find the $10 million in your room, you cannot complain that within the month where you had the $10 million that you didn't know about the whole thing, because you said, I'm a good person. If I have $10 million, I will be giving the poor. I will be good to everybody. You took the challenge.
But
So
I can do both, right? Like I can make charity, and then I can have my women also. So why not? We have two choices.
let's say that the challenge is about being good with money or being bad with money, regardless what the definition that we agree upon in the contract. Let's say you'll be either charitable or you will be, evil, and will not give anybody, and people are dying from starvation. But you have your $10 million. I owed them. Somebody must have given them to me because I'm just this great genius, and I deserved it or something. Okay. And now when the 1 month is done, you cannot complain that you didn't remember what the contract was, because when you took the contract, you took it at your own free will and knowing the risks. So what the Quran is telling us and what Islam is telling us is that on Judgment Day, we will be just like that guy who took the $10 million for a month. We will not be able to complain that in the world we had memory erasure for what has happened before we were born. And in hadith and in the Quran, in hadith, for example, the Prophet says, يولد كل إنسان على الفطرة. We have been given an innate intuition to find a religion.
Yeah, but Quran also says that هو الذي أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم لا تعلمون شيئا. He made you born knowing nothing. So okay, like we born knowing nothing. So we start from zero. So if you erase my memory, there is no contract anymore. You see, like if you are my friend in this life, but then God tells me in the next life your memory will be erased and you are not know Ahmed anymore. So then will you be my friend in that next world? Of course not, because I don't know you. I don't know who you are. So the matter of contract here, it doesn't make any sense, because once you remove the memory, you have canceled the whole contract.
Yeah. So this is a good question.
Can I quickly interrupt, because we do have
Sure.
a few questions from the side chat, and I did want to say to Ahmed, you're slowly winning me over to Islam. If I can get a mirror in which I look handsome and $10 million, I'm willing to consider it. I mean, that hasn't
With
been,
the
that hasn't
Saudi
been offered,
bank.
yeah, that hasn't been
With the
offered to me
Saudi
yet.
bank.
But we did have a
To be
question from a while
To be
ago.
honest, Peter, I always hope in those conversations that some of my interlocutors will consider it. Just to be honest. So
Oh,
yeah.
you put a good offer on the table. So
Good.
being handsome is a lifetime wish. But I got a question from Beach Price, and that was from quite a while ago. She asked, "I'm wondering if an angel can blow an evil soul into a fetus."
Okay, so there are no evil souls according to Islam. There are no evil souls. There are no evil spirits at all. This thing does not exist. There are two creatures who have free will, two types of creatures who have free will, which are human beings and jinn. And like there are evil people because they have chosen to be evil, there are evil jinn who have chosen to be evil. And the headmaster of those is Satan. And people who have not received revelation will consider them evil souls. There are no evil souls. Jinn have their own body and soul. They are made of different material. They are energetic beings, and they have their free choice. And when they become evil, they just become evil.
Ahmed, but God also can be evil in Islam, right? Because God is Adhar and Nafa. God can do harm and can do good, right?
Yeah, so Allah is ultimately good. And when He causes harm, like, for example, He causes somebody to have a disability or to have a disease, it is because this is part of the test. So if, for example, you are putting somebody under very bad hardship in a boot camp before he goes to the battlefield, and in this boot camp he is injured, it is because you don't want him to die in the battlefield. He has to take some risks and have to have some nasty training, because then otherwise you will consider every professor that puts a bad examination and students are coming out from the examination feeling horrible, that he is evil. It is part of the education experience, and in this case, it is part of this. The objective of this world is to test who will choose good and who will choose not good. And part of being good is being.
But Ahmed, we are not getting the same questions, okay? Like, let's say, do I get the same questions like MBS? Of course not. I mean, or a poor person in Afghanistan is like getting what Bill Gates get? Of course not. I mean, so it's not the same. They are not the same questions. And also, the Quran itself tells us that Satan says, or Satan accuses God of leading him astray. So Satan here is either lying. So if Satan is lying, why God quote him in the Quran? And if he's saying the truth, so why God leads Satan astray? Because ultimately, God or Allah will be the source of evil. If you said it, that there is no evil spirit, it does not exist, right? Even Satan originally is not Satan. He became Satan after being, I don't know. Yeah, okay. But ultimately, Satan blamed God for it. In Al-A'raf, verse 16, right?
Okay, so let me go to Araf verse 16 because I don't memorize the numbers of the ayat, of course. But I thought you were referring to another ayah which says قال ربي بما أغويتني. But let's see which one you're referring to here. So verse number 16 says, yeah, it's the same thing, but okay. The other one is Al-Hijr. Okay, so he says this. قال فبما أغويتني. The other one قال ربي بما أغويتني. Okay, this one. He does not say, you have made me astray. Actually, the ayah says this. قال فبما أغويتني لأقعدن لهم صراطك المستقيم. قال, he said, the speech is on the tongue of Shaitan, of Satan. He says, قال فبما أغويتني. He said, since you have seduced me, لأقعدن لهم صراطك المستقيم. I will sit to them on your straight path, to seduce them, obviously. So Satan realizes that he was tested and he failed. Now he is extremely stupid because he could have taken the same decision like Adam later, because essentially what happens here, he is tested to acknowledge Adam's superiority, and he rejects it. He says, I am made of fire, he's made of mud, I will not bow down to him. And Adam, so he rejects a direct command. He knows that this is Allah, and he is rejecting a direct command because of arrogance. And Adam goes to this testing place called Eden, and he receives a direct command, do not eat from that tree, and he eats from the tree. But immediately after Adam has realized that he disobeyed a direct command, he immediately repents. Satan could have immediately repented, but he didn't.
Yeah, but how Satan entered into paradise? I mean, the verse says that God punished Satan by driving him out of the paradise.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. So there are three scenes. Yeah, scene one: Adam and the angels, and Satan is there because he was in heaven, and he was a very highly respected member of the jinn who was like monastic, and he was better than angels. So he was there when God gave the command, and he was expected to bow down. And when he didn't, God noted it to him. He said, I meant that you also bow down. Didn't you understand that? And then he said, yes, I understood it, but I wouldn't do it. I'm better than him. This is translation of him. So
but he was not an angel, right? He was
not
jinn.
an angel. No, he was not. He was a jinn. So this is scene number one. Scene number two, God is telling Adam, I will put you and your wife in Eden, and take notice not to be deceived by Shaitan. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, he says, وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةِ, right? وَكُلَا مِنْهَا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا رَغَدًا. And in other places, he warns him very specifically from Shaitan. So being warned from Shaitan, it means that Shaitan has access to enter Eden. Shaitan is not banished from heaven after scene one. And then scene three,
so God, okay,
God,
my friend, but you mean
Shaitan to enter? Yes, because Adam is there to be tested.
Okay.
So in Islamic ideology, which is the truth, of course, in my opinion, Adam is not in Eden to stay in Eden.
Yeah, like already if the verse says that he will send him to earth.
Yeah. So scene zero is that he is telling the angels, I'm going to create a human being for earth. I'm going to put him on earth as a Khalifa. This is scene zero. And then scene one, ordering the angels and Shaitan to bow to him. Scene two, Shaitan tricks Adam after Adam has been warned. And scene three, okay, the test has ended. Now everybody goes to earth. Shaitan goes to earth, Adam goes to earth, Eve goes to earth. Everybody's allowed to breed. And then it is, jinn can be Muslim or can be believers or disbelievers. Humans can be believers and disbelievers. And it says that Shaitan vows that he is going to be a seduction to human beings. And God vows also, he gives, it's actually in the same context of the ayat that you have mentioned. So he says, قال فبما أغويتني لأقعدن لهم صراطك المستقيم ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم
Yeah, but
ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين.
yeah, as
yeah.
I said, the problem is, okay, when we study statistics, for example, we see that even death is different from a place to a place. I mean, traditionally speaking, the belief in al-qadar, qada wal-qadar, and the predestination or God's judgment on everything, it should happen regardless of the situation. So somebody is working hard to live longer, but then God has other plans for him, and he dies earlier. Okay, but when we study statistics, we still discover that in some countries people live longer. In other countries, people die earlier in life. Maybe in some countries have higher children deaths. So when we start improving our lives, we have vaccines, we have medicines, we have better engineering, whatever we do, we can live longer, which means we did it. So what God has to do with this? If we are, you reminded me of the Greek proverb that says, God's help those who help themselves. It's, after all, is you who is doing it. So I don't care if this determinism, whether it's God or materialism, it's, for me, it's the same. If I reject communism, for example, for being kind of predestined, they have a kind of predestination with our logic. I see the same problem in Islam. It's just a different title. I don't care whether it's Allah or the material world. Yeah, it's the same for me. So what do you think?
I think that you have control over what you think and what you choose, regardless if you actuate it or not. God very clearly says, the age of a human being is not known to the human being. And he explicitly says that it is not going to be part of human knowledge or human control to control when somebody will die or where he will die. وما تدري نفس ماذا تكسب غدا وما تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت. So he has predestined lifetimes and he has predestined where somebody dies.
So how about those who wait in jail to be executed? They know the time when they will die. How about these guys? All right?
Yeah, you think that you might die there, but sometimes you take a pardon at the last minute. Sometimes the executioner dies before you. So there are all sorts of funny things. Maybe you can tell me somebody kills himself. How about that? Okay.
Yeah,
so,
that's also true.
I'm gonna die after 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, somebody shoots himself. But many people try to kill themselves, and they do not succeed. By the way.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. So, and many people are so afraid of death, they go into many wars and they don't die. We still have veterans who have fought in World War II, where a regiment of 100 and just one person survived. So there are places where average life expectancy is high. But what does it really matter for me as Ahmed if people around me are averaging 80 years and I die at 100 or I die at 60? It doesn't really make a big difference. And I'm not sure if it is true that technology has extended lifetime expectancies, because probably if you look at ancient Arabia, you will find people living until 100 years and 120 years. And if you go to Tibet today, where people are completely separated from technology, you will find people above 100 normal, okay? So technology has its positive sides and it has its negative sides. I think people who really raise the average of lifetime expectancy, who take the best from the available technology or available nutrition or available lifestyle available in their environment,
Now
right?
you're
And
becoming scientific.
yeah, so if you live a healthy life, you are your body will take you further. But maybe if you live a healthy life and you drive racing cars and you're taking so much risk,
Yeah.
then you have other factors. So at the end of the day, God is telling you this: do not be afraid. He wants us to have courage. He says that the moment of your death is disconnected causally from what you do. So if you want to say a word of truth in front of a tyrant, just go ahead and tell it, because he cannot kill you unless it is your time. This is the message. And the message too is that as much as you are very good and very smart, it doesn't mean that you will be the richest. So Einstein is not obviously the richest person, and probably he was, he was smarter than Bill Gates. Maybe Bill Gates is very smart, but probably Einstein is smarter. So
Yes.
he says, I am going to make you rich or not rich as a test. Maybe I'm going to make Einstein very smart, but it is also a test. Maybe I'm going to make somebody less smart, but I'm going to give everybody the innate want to find God. Somebody might dismiss it and at the end of the day say, no, it doesn't exist, that he's not been very good to me, and he might as well have made me in a better position to like him, maybe make me so rich. But then when you look at the richest is not necessarily believing, and the smartest are not necessarily believing. Maybe I'm smart and maybe you're smarter, but maybe you're smarter, you disbelieve, and maybe I'm less smart, but I believe. Or maybe I'm smarter and I believe, and maybe you are less smart and you disbelieve. So it seems that at the end of the day, that every one of us is put in a custom test. So there are 7 billion or 8 billion people living now, and there are 8 billion distinct tests. But the final thing is, we will stand in front of God after the 1 month, $10 million memory erasure test has finished, and none of us will be able to make a case that God was unjust to him. This is according to him. Now, if Islam is true, and I believe it is true, after a few years, I am not living, you are not living, no matter how many years those are, 20. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
on this conversation will be living 50 or 100 years from now. Not 100 for sure. So 100 years from now, every one of us would have stood in front of God already. And the claim of Islam is none of us will have a case that he was unjust to him. He will remind him that he took free will on his own choice, and this included God choosing the test to specific
Well,
extent.
Ahmed, I think the biggest problem in the Islamic world right now is this belief in determinism, or God's like interference in the world, which is, I mean, it does not make any sense. For example, I like when Voltaire gives a proverb about a guy who went to an exhibition, and he asked the people who are there, what are these paintings for? And they said, oh, these are the paintings of some artist who survived a shipwreck. So, like, there were 100 people drowned, like 80 drowned, and the 20 survivors, they created these paintings. And this guy says, well, how about the drawing or the paintings of the 80 guys who died? Okay, I mean, you are giving me an example, and that's why I think where religion gets tricky. Let me give you like an example how it works. Islam works like someone who want to do a wager with me. Let's say he will tell me, okay, we have this dice, we have 6 numbers on them, from 1 to 6. and any number, I win. If I get 1 to 6, I will win. If you get 7, you lose. So, of course, I will always lose because there is no number 7 on this dice. And, okay, imagine 4 people in a car, they are going from point A to point B. I get this example from what his name, Seth Anders, the thinking atheist. He used it for another matter, but I use it here. Okay, this car, these guys are driving, and when they arrive from A to B, they say, "Oh, thank to God, we arrived according to His will, safe." But if they have an accident and nobody dies, they will say, "Oh, God saved us from this accident and we are safe." But if somebody dies, they will say, "Oh, this guy died according to his will." So whatever happens, yeah, they have all the numbers on the dice. They always win. We don't have the numbers on the dice, we don't win. You see how it works? If you tell me, if you get number 7, you will win. Okay, what do you think about this? I mean, you are attributing everything to God. Of course you will win. What do you think about that?
I'll tell you something that might be a good point to wrap this up.
Okay.
As let's say you take me as an educated person, so we're both educated, okay? I take you as an educated person. So let's say you take me as an educated person.
Of course, you are an educated person, yes.
So probably in terms of the actions on the ground, okay, which relate to understanding things based on causality, both of us will behave the same, okay? So I want to travel and you want to travel. It's a 300-kilometer drive or a 200 miles drive. I will check my car and you will check your car, okay? I will make sure of the spare tire, you will make sure of the spare tire. I will make sure I have enough gas, you will make sure you have enough gas, okay? I will say, I will arrive, inshallah. You will say, I will arrive in 3 hours. I will say, I will arrive in 3 hours, inshallah. All right?
Yeah. Yes.
But the actions that we are taking on the ground are the same, because the Prophet said, "Aqilha wa tawakkal." Okay? Rope your camel and then delegate to Allah. Okay?
Yeah.
At first, rope your camel. Do not leave it and go astray and then say, "Okay, it was God's will that it went astray." No, you didn't rope it. Okay? You didn't tie it up. So both of us, as a good Muslim, as an educated good Muslim, or as an educated atheist, we both act on causality. But I will say, inshallah, if God wills it, I will arrive safely in 3 hours, or I will arrive in 3 hours. Now, if after 3 hours you have arrived and my car had a blown up tire and my spare tire turned out to blow up also after half an hour, very hard luck, I will stand in the middle of the road. I will pray to Allah for somebody to stop and pick me up. And if it doesn't happen and I have to spend 2 nights in the desert, I will say, Alhamdulillah, maybe Allah wants me to be here to have some good time of contemplation. Okay? Maybe there was something bad that was going to happen if I reached to that meeting. Maybe I would have taken a bad decision. So the difference here is that I am always, because I have a belief that God is good and that His fate and His actions are always to test me, and my realization of the test makes me either thank Him if it is a good thing or be patient if it is a bad thing, then I am aware of the test. And whenever I respond to something as a test, I know that it's good at the end. If it's bad and I am patient, it's good. If it's good and I am thankful, it's good. But both of us will try to find a mobile phone and call somebody to pick you up. We'll stand up, doing the hitchhiker thumb. Both of us will try to get out of the situation. But the person, let's say that this person is me, who knows that there is God and everything, and he's looking at me. Now, I will not feel lonely. I will pray and I will try to use causality, but I will also think that if this is just a temporal test and I pray, maybe God will change it. And if I'm succeeding in the test, when the test is done, I will move forward. Somebody who does not believe, maybe he will be impatient, maybe he will be very angry, maybe he will think, if I have looked 3 times into the tire, it wouldn't have happened. I would say something different because I believe in predestination of the test. I will say, no matter, I have done what I could have done. I will say, no
Yeah,
matter what
but
I would have done.
let me disagree with you here because, for example, the assumption that somebody who does not believe in God will be always impatient. I mean, that's not might be true for the example, like the basic truth is that, for example, there are Buddhist monks who don't believe in any God. They don't talk about God at all. Yet they are patient so much that they don't have any even sexual relationship, or like they meditate years and years and years in mountains, like in Tibet, for example. I know of a Buddhist monk who spent years in mountains, and he does not believe in God. So why you assumed right away that because I don't believe in God, I will be impatient and I will rush to panic? I mean,
Okay, let
yeah,
me, maybe I should have used a different term.
yes,
So let me tell you this. You know, in Arabic, I will say Alhamdulillah.
okay,
Okay,
thank the God,
the tire,
okay,
the tire has blown. Alhamdulillah. It is an act of patience,
yes,
but it is an act of patience that accepts that even if this looks to be something bad, that I am accepting it and showing patience. Which is different. If somebody is calm, he will not say, he will not thank the universe for blowing his tire, let's say. Even this is the difference. I will thank God for anything because I understand it's a test, and I will be thankful, especially if I pass the test. Somebody who believes in the universe or whatever will not thank the universe for blowing his tire, probably, and would have thought maybe I should have done something else, or maybe this is a lesson for something later, and will go on to the action. So what I mean in a nutshell is this. A believer will probably do the same things in terms of causality, but understanding that what has happened is a test, and that the important thing is passing the test, either through patience and being thankful, or through being thankful and thankful. Okay, so you are rich, so you are thankful by giving to the people, and you are thankful to Allah for making you rich. You are poor, so you are thankful by being patient, and you are thankful by saying Alhamdulillah and passing the test. So the difference is, an atheist or not an atheist, we will probably do the same actions on the ground, but we will have different dispositions and different reactions to what is happening. And this will mean that each of us has chosen this position towards life.
We
And this
lost
is what we are going to
we
be.
lost Sohel. We lost Sohel. I'm not.
Yeah.
Let me.
So
I
just
don't
to
know
wrap it, and this is what's going to make a
if I'm
difference.
back.
Yeah. And this is what's going to make a difference at the end. Our position, our attitude towards accepting that God is testing us, and towards realizing that this is a test, and towards making the right psychological and mental reaction towards this test until we meet him. So at the end of the day, Sohail, let me tell you this. If a Muslim is born rich or poor or disabled or healthy, or gets injured during his life, and somebody who does not believe take the same thing, maybe on the ground they might do actions that look similar. Maybe the rich guy will spend money because it's good for marketing, but the believing guy is going to spend money because it's good for hereafter. The real believer, okay? And at the end, I don't find it to be a logical position to take an atheistic worldview, because if we are both going to do the same thing, why on earth would I lose the wager? Because it's not like I want to have the 7 and there is only 1 to 6 on the dice. Every number that comes out on the dice is my 7, is a winner, if just I have the right attitude towards it. This is just the message, the wrap up I would like to say. Believing in Qadar and believing that Allah is in control and that we have free will to choose the attitude towards the tests is a matter of psychological disposition and mental disposition. Sometimes the tests are very difficult, but if you raise your awareness that you are tested all the time, I don't think it is difficult at all to be a believer and pass this test. God says that. فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى. He makes it easy for those who like piety to live, and he says فنحيينه حياة طيبة. We will surely make him live a good life, and a good life is a good life inside. You are some people are very rich and they are miserable, you know. It's not related to the material things. I know people who are much richer than me and they're miserable. I know people who are really rich.
If I can jump in, because you keep giving me clues, Ahmed. You need to find the courage, which I need to interrupt both of you. And you mentioned Einstein, who after his death famously became the icon of our channel. So there's that. And then Sohel said we all get different questions, and that's also correct, because I do have several questions. All of them are for Ahmed. So,
all right.
If I would like to ask you the questions, if you can answer in let's say 2 or 3 minutes, and then maybe have Sohel have a shot so we can get all of them out, because the audience is putting in questions, which I always think is nice because they're interacting with the people on screen. So from Mike Ghazi, question to Mr. Ahmed. I'm sure you agree God has the power to cause change in our lives. In a yes or no answer, has God changed someone's life directly in the past year based on your belief? Oh, that's a
God changes everybody's life every single moment.
Okay. Then we have the next one. That's do you want to reply to that one, Sohel?
If I just in courtesy to the person who has asked this question, let me tell you this. Let's say you are a person who is thankful, and you decide today to be thankful. You are a person who is very good at his work, but you have a manager who hates you for no obvious reason. Okay? So we have a saying in Islam that the hearts of humans are between 2 fingers of God. It means that hearts of people are under his control. So let's say you are thankful to God, and tomorrow you go to work and this guy who hated you for no obvious reason suddenly decides not to hate you. I would expect that many people in this life, either themselves or with others, have seen marital relationships change, relations with children change, relations with managers at work change, etc., etc., etc. There are so many things in life that are so undeterministic and so subjective. And I would claim that from my experience and from evidence in my religion, that so many of those things that relate to the reaction and to the love and to the affection and the acceptance of people to you relates to your attitude with God. He can heal people's feelings against you, and he can make the universe accept you. This is just one example of how he can change every single person's life any moment according to his inner attitude. Just to be gracious to the person who answered and not to give him a very short answer.
Okay.
I'm done.
Sohel, quick response.
Yeah, I think we don't need to believe in God in order to be successful, because for the simple reasons that if we follow the, like, be reasonable, like even a horse, a donkey knows that if they jump from a high cliff, they will die. I mean, that's not. We don't need a higher being to tell us what is good or bad for us. For example, I'm not a Muslim, but I don't drink wine. I'm not a Muslim, but I don't use drugs. I'm not a Muslim or any other belief. Like, I don't. My only addiction is to books. Yeah, that's the addiction I have, and I don't think anybody will see it as a bad addiction.
No.
And let me give you an example. Like, I have seen a video where a kid, like 2 years old kid, was walking, and the kid fell on the ground, and a car goes over that kid, but then the kid will stand up again after the car is gone and moves, and somebody says, "Wow, see, this is a miracle. God saved her." And I said, "How about the 2 million kids who died? I mean, it's a matter of luck. Come on, guys. I mean, that happens all the time. Like, if we study even like biology and human and life history, you will see some people, some beings survive and some will die. So I don't worry about death, because I know that death will not come to me. I will not feel it. I'm not there to feel it. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being someone once said, and I forgot who it was. Being dead is nothing to be afraid of. Getting dead is the hard part. So that there is that. Mubarak, do you want to read out the next question?
The next question is,
Last
see.
one in the live chat.
Okay, last one in the live chat.
Oh,
In
in
the
the private chat. Sorry.
Okay. Is is Allah able to heal people but unwilling, or is Allah? This question is for Ahmed. Is Allah able to heal people but unwilling, or Allah willing but unable to heal people?
No, he is able to heal people, but disease is part of his test. So he will keep people subjected to his tests if it is part of their test to get ill. So if you want me to choose between unwilling and unable, he is unwilling. But if you want him to be willing to heal you, you can pray. Does that mean that he will heal you? No, it doesn't. But we have a doctrine in Islam that if you pray and your prayer is accepted and what you prayed for happens, then your prayers are repaid. If they don't happen and you remain patient, then you get the reward for patience and you get the reward for praying. The whole point is anything that happens is a test. It says in the Quran, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ
أيكم أحسن عملا.
خَيْرِ وَالشَّرِّ فِتْنَةً. Okay, we test you with the good and with the bad as a test. So being ill is as a test as being in good health. If you are in good health and you're hurting people, you are failing your test. If you are in bad health and you are impatient and you hate God for it, it's not good for you as well. If God is going to make everybody healthy and everybody rich and everybody married with kids and everybody living in a big house and having a car in a nice country that respects its citizens, enjoying unpolluted air, this is the definition of paradise. There is no test whatsoever in this. it negates the reason for it. The raison d'etre of this world is to be a test, and tests have to be different, and this includes disease.
Okay.
But
Sohel,
Ahmed, remember,
Sohel, quick
yeah,
response.
yeah, my response is that, okay, I don't believe in any test because even a chimpanzee and many other animals, they get cancer too, okay? So is it a test to them? No, it's something that is going in nature. So if you would wait for religion to answer these issues for us, we will never do better. I think we should study it. Maybe someday we will fix cancer too. Yeah.
Okay. Mubarak, read the next one too, if you will.
Okay, that's again for Ahmed. Is it okay to use philosophy to defend Islam, or is it haram, which I think it might be haram, or is it haram?
I think he have written it wrong. Yeah, haram.
Yeah, I think he meant
Haram, yeah.
Aaron meant like haram.
So accidentally, I have an interview with William Lane Craig, Dr. William Lane Craig, on the 27th of this month on my channel. And why this is relevant is that because he is famous for something called the Kalam cosmological argument, which is a philosophical school pioneered by an Islamic scholar called Imam al-Ghazali. So obviously, this person who was an imam means that he was a religious scholar of Islam. So nobody, reasonable people in Islamic jurisprudence will not say that philosophy is haram. When they say this, essentially what they mean is that if you misuse philosophy, you're doing something wrong. If philosophy leads you to doubt everything, including your mind, so you're unable to take a decision about everything and you choose nihilism or unjustified skepticism, you are doing something wrong. But in the Quran, God is using philosophical arguments like book philosophical arguments that cannot be described other than being philosophy. When he says, for example, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ, have they been created out of nothing, or they are the creators? He is giving a philosophical, logical argument about creation. Either somebody created you, or you created yourself, or nothingness has created you. And then this becomes the basis of the Kalam cosmological argument that was put together by Imam al-Ghazali, and he wrote volumes and volumes on it, and Dr. William Lane Craig resurrected it in the 70s. So philosophy is definitely not haram in Islam. It is the misuse of philosophy that is bad. Yeah.
Okay. Sohel, quick response?
Yeah, my quick response is that I have a problem with Ghazali because for a simple reason, like he cancels the whole causation thing. Okay, like he gives an example. He said that if you have a fire and you have a cotton close to it, the fire will catch the cotton not as like a causation, but only God will make the cotton burnt. It's not the fire that it's doing it. So, I mean, he destroyed the whole notion of philosophy by this very simple argument, and that's why Ibn Rushd or Averroes, who came 100 years after him, he was a Muslim too. Yeah, and I argue that the majority of Muslim philosophers, they were, according to jurisdiction, they were heretics because, for example, Ibn Rushd didn't believe in the afterlife. He said that once we are dead, there is no resurrection. It's not possible. You can believe in it, but philosophically, it's not possible. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just give a 10-second response to that. So Al-Ghazali and other scholars who take this position, which is called occasionalism. Occasionalism is a religious position. It does not affect their philosophy. So they accept causation, but what they're saying is that causation is apparent. God will take the actions that will always make causes cause effects, but the real actor is him. But in terms of their philosophy, they accept causation. So it goes back to the same worldview that I was talking about, that it is a big umbrella where God's will is moving everything. It's under his will that he gives us free will, and then he will actuate our free will or not. Once you have taken a choice, it's counted on you. He can choose to actuate it on your mind. You want to kill somebody, but you miss. Or you want to kill somebody, but you do not miss. But in both cases, you wanted to kill him, so you're a bad guy. So just so occasionalism and causation are different. Causation is a philosophical position. Occasionalism is a religious position. And his religion does not affect his philosophy. It's just
I am going to tease you because you have much longer seconds than I have. At 10 seconds, but
I'm sorry for that.
okay. So I'm going to get back at you because I've got a question that is in 4 parts. It's a very long one, so be prepared. It's from a guy I met on Nadir Ahmed's channel. I don't know if all of you are familiar with him, but something good can come
I
from...
never heard of him.
No, please send me the link to his channel.
You haven't heard of him?
No.
There's a reason that for the empty screen we have a lamp. I think Mubarak will remember that.
I do remember, but
I
like to select the memories.
He's incredibly mad that Ahmed no, he was replaced by Ahmed on Ra's show, and I told him that wasn't the case, but he's still mad. He still thinks so.
He's just jealous because he got replaced by a younger, more handsome person.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, but anyway.
Okay, I'll ask the question. It's a really long one. Okay, so was Allah created by another being? If not, did Allah form by natural processes? If not, did Allah exist since forever? If yes, could Allah remember the oldest thought he had? If yes, could he go back infinitely in time, in a finite amount of time, in order to find the oldest thought he can remember? If yes, would that oldest remembered thought be his first thought? If not, how can Allah be all-powerful and all-knowing? Okay, and lastly, or how could he have existed since forever? I hope you can remember all of this. I mean, it's tricky. If you want me to, hold on. I'll put it in the private chat so you can read through it, because it is a pretty long question with a lot of possibilities. So that was from Zargos Oskan.
Okay, so let's say this. Was Allah created by another being? The answer is no. If not, did Allah form by natural processes? The answer is no. If not, did Allah exist since forever? The answer is also no. Forever means nothing to God. So forever is an aspect of time, and time is a created thing. So God created time. In one of the hadith Qudsi, God says, يؤذيني ابن آدم يسب الدهر وأنا الدهر أقلب ليله ونهاره. So it is as if he is saying that he is time in sense of he creates time. If you create something, you cannot be bound by it. So let's go back to the matrix parable. If I am creating this complete world on a computer, the AIs in the computer cannot wonder, where am I in their world? Their whole sense of time and place is relevant to their world. Their sense of time is completely imaginary because it depends on a computer clock that has a specific frequency. So if they ask, where on the server am I? Where is the user on the server? The answer is the user is nowhere on the server, which is equal to he is everywhere on the server. But the right answer is the user is nowhere on the server. So where is God in terms of time and space? God is nowhere in terms of time and space. He is not at any specific point of time because he is outside of time, just like you are outside of the time and space of the intelligent agents in a computer simulation. Let's say that this simulation, you choose to pause it for 1 year and then go back and restore it and continue running it. For the persons in the simulation, no time at all has passed since you paused it. If you run it faster, they just feel the time is the same because for them, events are happening in the same causal order. If you extend or reduce the amount of space they have on the server, the size of their universe or their world, to the user that is outside of this system, the amount of space that is available to him is the same, because space to them is completely different than space to him. If the user is the computer itself, the computer for them is everywhere and the computer is forever. Every instant that passed for them, no matter how old their world is to the computer as good as this instant because it is stored somewhere in memory. And accessing that specific moment in memory, no matter how old it is as easy for the computer, which is the backdrop of this universe, as accessing this exact present moment. So for God being outside time and space, it is an inapplicable question to ask if he is forever because he is timeless. The next question is, if yes, the answer was no. So if yes, he says, if yes, could Allah remember the oldest thought he had? There is no oldest thought to Allah. His thought, his actions of yesterday and his actions of today and the actions that are going to happen in 1,000,000 years from now and the actions on Judgment Day are all to him as good as actions in present and as ideas in present and as events in present. If yes, could he go back infinitely in time in a finite amount of time in order to find out the oldest thought he can remember? I already answered this. If yes, would that oldest remembered thought be his first thought? God is the first. There is no first relevant to God. He has been there in no time and in no space. So I cannot say he has been there all the time because he created time and space. If not, how can Allah be all-powerful and all-knowing? So it is not like that. So the question does not exist. Or how could he have existed since forever? There is no forever for him because there is no time. He is time itself. He is outside time and he created time. So I think I have answered all questions.
So
You might as well like to look at Truth 4 on my it's a 6 or 7 minute thing on my channel.
If you want, Ahmed, shoot me the link in the private chat here, so I can add it to the description. If people the videos that you mentioned, if you have a direct link, we can put that in the description, and people can hop over to your channel.
All right.
Okay. Sohel, you wanna have a quick response?
yeah, I mean, the way Ahmed showed us, it seems that we are rats in a lab, and the doctor who doing the test, he decides which rat dies, which rat will recreate. Okay, I mean, that's my answer. I mean, I don't see in this universe with such a God, except that we are rats. Yeah, we're like testing rats, nothing more. And I rather live in a chaotic a world that resulted from randomness rather than living in such a world controlled by a demon who like reminds me of Descartes' evil demon if you read like his meditations. Yeah, that's all that I want to say.
Okay.
A demon will not send you to paradise, but anyway.
I want to wrap it up because we've just passed 2 hours. But there's one
Wow.
question I do want to ask because that's one that I'm actually curious about myself. It's the last one I'm going to take. It's from Iron Charioteer. He said, "Ask Ahmed, how is Islam practical in today's society?" I think that's a good question.
Yeah, Islam is I'm living with Islam as much as I can. It is extremely practical in today's society if you accept that today's society is in itself a test. So let me tell you this, I do not accept usury, for example. Okay? So I have to make a compromise. When I put my money in the bank, I do not take interest. Okay? And let me also tell you this. I don't like insurance. I don't insure my car. So somebody will pay insurance for his whole life and will drive safely, and the insurance company has made a fortune out of him. Okay? And somebody does not pay insurance and he accepts an accident, and he looks at what he's doing as part of his religion. So either he doesn't take the accident or the accident happens. He's patient, he thanks God for it, and he fixes his car. I choose to put a good amount of my time to come into this conversation. Some other people might, like to spend it watching a match. I am happy doing this. So what counts at the end of the day is whether what you are doing brings you happiness or not. Because let's say you take interest or you don't, you make insurance or you don't, you drink wine or you don't. What counts at the end of the day is what makes you happy, right or not? So if you're drinking and you have hangovers and it's just to cover your misery, maybe if somebody is not miserable altogether, it's better than being a little miserable and drinking. I have great pleasure in reading the Quran. Somebody might have great pleasure in reading, I don't know, comics or reading books. I read all kinds of books, including books of atheists and books of philosophers who completely are diametrically opposed to what I am saying. But I am doing it to find pleasure into every single time finding truth in what I believe in. So the question is Islam practical in today's world? It is as practical in today's world as it was practical for people who were living under the Roman Empire versus people who were living in the desert Arabia. People who were living in Rome were as Romans, as senators, and as masters, were enjoying life in the sense of the current secular Western society. People who were living in Arabia were pagans who were enjoying simple life. And both those types came to Islam, Byzantine Empire and Arabia and Persia, and people in Egypt and North Africa and in the forests in Africa and in China and in India and in Spain. And I think they lived a very good life. Islam pulled the world into a whole new level of civilization. And it didn't make really a big difference, in my opinion, for somebody who is rich under the Islamic Empire or rich under the Roman Empire in terms of happiness. It makes a difference if you are happy from inside. I know people who are materially miserable, but internally as happy as a person can be because they understand that it is part of their test and they are grateful to God and they pray. And you would seek one of those people to sit at his feet and look to his face and try to absorb some of the happiness that is emanating from him. This is the difference. If practicality is a matter of enjoying life, I would not hesitate to say that Islam is very practical. If practicality is a matter of going with the flow, then you will have hard time. If it's about going with the flow. But good people do not go with the flow, because the flow will take you to bad places. This is my comment.
Okay. Sohel, quick response?
Well, I think the final thing should be for Ahmed because I started the show. So
Yeah, no, but Ahmed got the last question. I don't know if you want to respond
okay,
to that.
yeah, okay. I would say that I don't think Islam is practical in modern times, especially the Islam which is I see in the Middle East. The only Islam I think is could be like okay with civilization is the Ismaili faith, for example, or the Sufis. Yeah, these are the two only Islamic ways I think they can be, yeah, like improved philosophically, and we can like benefit from them in society. Other than that, I don't think Islam is helpful. Actually, I see it as a big problem. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, I want to wrap it up. Mubarak, we didn't have a lot to do like last time.
I know. I love it. I love just listening to Sohel and Ahmed. Just give them the ball and they just take it and run with it. You know, they're just so great to listen to.
Thank you, Mubarak.
What I do want to say, because I watch other YouTube channels as well. I'm really happy the way these conversations are going, because I've seen much worse on other channels, and I do want to thank both of you for keeping it this way. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel, and so if
Pleasure to
if
me too. Thank you.
either of you come up with another topic, please feel free to email me and we'll set up another one. I want to thank both of you for your time and your preparation, even though both of you had little time to prepare this time. I think people might not even have noticed that you didn't have time to prepare, because I think both came with a good opening statement. So yeah, great conversation. Mubarak, thank you for helping out on the channel.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mubarak.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I do want to say I want to have Ahmed come on our other show as well, Beyond Beliefs, where we ask about the person, not the religion. So if you're up for that, Ahmed, I'll be more than happy to set that up as well.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I want to
Send me the details.
I want to thank the people in the chat for the good questions, and I'll take us out, and we'll see you all on the next show. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.